Follow God. Find out why and how in this episode of 5 Minutes Closer. I'm Vaughn Weatherford, and this is 5 Minutes Closer. For the next 5 minutes, let's explore some biblical truths and apply them to your life. No podcast, including this one, can transform your life or give you what you really need. Only Jesus can do that. You can find out why in what I've called the first five episodes of 5 Minutes Closer. Each following episode explores scriptural truths that, if you follow them, will bring you 5 minutes closer to the person God created you to be. Let's see if we can get you 5 minutes closer. I rode a donkey once. My family visited Horsetail Falls near Monterrey, Mexico when I was a child. At the time, the last mile or so was a trail you either had to walk or ride a burro to go see the falls. To my 10-year-old delight, my dad opted for the burro. Riding along in the summer sun, I started to feel sorry for the poor little fella. I figured he'd carried quite a few tourists by that time, and some of them weighing more than a 10-year-old. The donkey didn't seem to be having much fun either. He plodded along the trail, head down, wondering who made him leave his lovely shaded barn. I hoped he wouldn't figure out the reason was me. I learned a lesson in animal empathy that day. Balaam learned the same lesson, along with something more critical, in Numbers chapter 22. In this, one of my daughter's favorite Bible stories growing up, Balaam learned an essential spiritual lesson from his mistreated donkey. We can too. The lesson is simple. Follow God. Balaam's first mistake was that he didn't listen to God the first time. Numbers 22 continues the story of the Israelites' prolonged march through the wilderness. Their journey brought them to a land inhabited by the Moabites, whose king, a fellow by the name of Balak, was afraid that they had come to take over his land. To find out, he sent for a prophet from the area, the aforementioned Balaam. Balaam, unfortunately, had mixed motives for his prophecy. He'd learned to make a pretty good living off of the messages he received from God. This instance appears to have been no different. Without question, however, God spoke clearly to Balaam, and his message was absolutely clear. Have nothing to do with Balak. When the king sent messengers to Balaam to bring him to the palace, God told him it was a no-go in Numbers chapter 22, verse 12. God said to Balaam, "You shall not go with them. You shall not curse the people, for they are blessed." At first, Balaam obeyed and told the messengers to go back to the king. He would not go with them. So far, so good. But then the messengers returned, this time with a sweetened offer. Princes of the kingdom came this time, not just messengers, and they came with a promise. The king would give Balaam great riches if he would come back with them. Balaam's answer indicates a shift in his thinking in verse 18 and 19. But Balaam answered and said to the servants of Balak, "Though Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I could not go beyond the command of the Lord my God to do less or more. So you two, please stay here tonight, that I may know more what the Lord will say to me." The truth is, it would be helpful and a lot less expensive to listen to God the first time. God is patient, but He's also very clear in how we are to live our lives. The Bible guides us to know what it is God wants us to do. So what do? Well, immediately, we start looking for loopholes. Do I tithe on my entire income or the net after taxes? Well, if you have to ask, you probably already know the answer. Still, we hold out, thinking that maybe God will change His mind. When we understand God's commands, we don't need to wonder if we should follow them. We just need to follow them. Balaam had to learn that lesson when the Lord allowed his donkey to speak. Really? Read the rest of the story yourself in the last half of Numbers chapter 22. Suffice it to say, don't let it take a talking donkey to convince you to follow God. Follow Him the first time, because now you're 5 minutes closer. My prayer is that these 5 minutes have challenged you, inspired you, and caused you to consider applying God's message for your life from His Word. To find out more, visit our website at 5minutescloser.com. Join me next time to see if we can get you 5 minutes closer.